Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of Tyria Then, a Guild Wars story podcast. I don't usually... it's like a Rogue One, a Star Wars story, right? Tyria Then, a Guild Wars story podcast. We're doing the whole Disneyfication of the Tyria Now channel. No, we're not. But welcome, everybody. And with me, as always, is Miko.
Hello, everyone.
And today it is time to enter a very special section of the Guild Wars universe, of the Guild Wars continent, of the Tyrian continent. Caretakers.
Yes.
We made it to Caretakers this episode.
We did.
Why don't you take us through what happened last episode that brings us to the point where we start today?
So in the previous episode, we had to get into the northern Shiver Peaks to try and start crossing over, taking our people, following our prince, and start taking our people into Caretakers. Basically, Prince Rurik has been disowned by his father, King Adalbern, and stripped of his title, so he has persuaded a bunch of people from Ascalon to follow him into Caretakers for a char-free life. And so we, as his good vanguard, have decided to follow him all as well. And we follow him into Lornars Pass. We have to help kind of save him. This is kind of a theme with Rurik. We have to save him after he got pinned down, after the Stone Summit dwarves pinned down the Deldrimor dwarves and Rurik, I guess, so that we could get through to Lornars Pass, and then through the Frost Gate. What we learned last episode was that there is a feud going on, internal strife, civil war, whatever you want to call it, happening between the dwarves. The Deldrimor dwarves are led by King Jalis Ironhammer, and he likes humans. He's got old alliances with them, we found out. And his cousin, Dagnar Stone Pate, does not like humans at all, and thinks that they're basically scum. So he's not happy that we're trekking across the Shiver Peaks trying to get to Caretakers. He basically thinks that we should be eliminated. And just as we get through the Frost Gate and Rurik tasks us with leading the refugees through while he and his boys hold off the Stone Summit, Dagnar rides up on his trusty Ice Drake horse and causes an avalanche, pins Rurik under a tree and snow. And we can't save Rurik because he's pinned. He tells us to fly, you fools. And then Dagnar basically is off with his head or something. But Dagnar basically kills Rurik, and that is where the episode basically ends. We spawn into Beacon's Perch. After we're finished, and we are now leaderless, and we are tasked with continuing Rurik's mission of taking the Ascalonian refugees into Caretakers.
You just blew my mind.
What?
This guy's name really is Dagnar Stone Pate.
Yeah.
What is a pate? What is a pate?
I think it's a head.
I've been calling him Dagnar Stone Plate my entire life. This man's name is Stone Pate.
Yeah, I think it's a reference to his head, because he's kind of bald.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's why we're doing the podcast, guys. So to teach me the deep, raw intricacies of Guild Warsian lore. Dagnar Stone Pate. That's a... Yeah. The name went from like a solid 7.5 out of 10 to like a 4 out of 10. With one letter abremoval. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah, we lost Rurik last episode. Yes. Absolutely devastating. big twist in the story. And as I kind of noticed this episode, kind of it's like the end of the, what's that? A prologue. It's like the end of the prologue of the actual game.
Right.
Sort of. Because with the death of Rurik and successfully getting the Ascalon refugees over the mountains, as we'll find out later in this episode, like a whole different plot starts.
Yes.
That's utterly unrelated to anything we've done in the game so far. So this is kind of that part in the movie where you're like 35 minutes in, you think you're watching the movie, and then the title credit shows, and then the real movie starts.
Right.
But before we get to that point, we actually have to kind of make the rest of the trek through the mountains. So we made it most of the way through. We did the early primary quests. We did the 2 missions. We got to the big story point where Rurik dies. Is killed, rather. He's murdered. And now we are stuck at Beacon's Perch. We made it through Grubel's Gulch over to Beacon's Perch, which is another Dwarven outpost. And that's where we spawn at the end of the Frostgate mission. And now we have to finish getting the refugees, finish what Rurik started, finish getting the Ascalonian refugees into Kryta, so they can live, as Miko put it, a char-free life. How do we do that, Miko?
So we have to basically take a series of quests from one NPC to another NPC to get and essentially clear the path and get safe passage for our people. But that, of course, is not going to be easy because we still have to cross the back part of the mountain and then get into Kryta and then find the right people to talk to in Kryta to let us into the safety of their city and basically get them to give us permission to stay there.
Yeah, we're refugees, so we can't just waltz into Kryta and be like, I live here now. We have to go through the consulate, right? And actually successfully be granted asylum. I was about to say that I have so many complaints about this section of the Shiver Peaks, but I actually just have one complaint.
And that is?
And it's so before this point in the story, so before you get to Beacon's Perch, you have level 8 henchmen.
Yes.
And all the enemies are like level 9, 10, all the way up to like 13. Once you get past Frostgate, you are granted level 10 henchmen. And all the hard enemies are now gone. And you get to fight level 8 centaurs and the occasional snow Eaten.
Yeah.
Etten. The ArenaNet has these 2 sections of the game ass backwards, and I don't like it. Okay?
Yeah.
We needed these level 10 henchmen in Yak's Bend, for the love of God.
Yeah.
We needed them when the beacons were getting lit. We needed them when we were fucking putting the lever in the socket of the frost gates. I didn't need them to bully level 8 centaurs.
Right. Yeah, because we did run into some, level 13, 14 enemies in those last episode's missions.
Yeah.
So they would have been really handy. But that's not what happened. And here we are walking out of Beacon's Perch with level 10s.
And we just, it's very easy. It's very easy getting through the snowy areas into Kryta because nothing is difficult. There's a couple, did you know, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but did you notice there's a couple Etten bosses that are just called Snow Etten, but they have a boss aura?
Yes.
The monk one doesn't even have any monk skills. It's just arbitrarily a monk for no reason.
Right.
I'd like to think it has like 55 energy that it's just not using at all.
I was like, oh, hey, boss, what's his name? Snow Etten. Snow Etten? Really? Okay.
Well, and it's worse than a regular Snow Etten because it has no warrior attacks.
No.
It can't do anything.
It's just colored blue. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing choice of enemy. It's a bizarre choice of enemy. I don't know why they implemented that in the game. Yeah. Did you do any of the... So there's 2, side quests that you can do out of Beacon's Perch. Did you do... Did you talk to Master Saberlin?
I did, and I picked up both of the quests that he had to offer.
Yeah, he gives the primary quest, right?
He does.
Yeah, and then
he only offers you one secondary quest at a time.
Yeah, I almost missed the other secondary quest, but you told me to go do it. Because I went and completed the first secondary quest he gives you, and then I just went right on my way to Kryta without turning it in. So I never would have known, right? I almost forgot to turn it in entirely, actually. So the first kind of side quest he has us do is, for anybody who tuned into episode 2, or episode 3 maybe, when we were in the breach in Ascalon, I did a quest for a dude named, I don't even remember who gave me the quest, but I had to go find this guy named Old Mac and his Devourer Joe and lead them back to Pyken Square. And I did that, and I got Mighty Blow, and it's the best skill in the game. Old Mac is back. Mac is back.
Mac is back.
Back is Mac. I don't.
He has made the journey to the Shiver Peaks as well.
Yeah, and his Devourer Joe is eating the Ascalonian refugees out of house and home.
Right.
I mean, they don't have a house or a home, but wherever they're at, he's eating us out of camp. Okay.
Right. Yeah, and Saberin is kind of freaked out by the Devourer pet, which, I mean,
they're icky.
Devourers. They come up out of the ground and they shoot things at you.
They're chitinous.
So I don't blame him. Yeah, I don't blame him for being a little scared.
They make a sound like crinkling tinfoil, except you know that it's like their chitinous plates sliding across one another, and I hate everything about that.
Right.
Yeah, and as like a bonus, we get to feed him. Ooh, fun. So yeah, we have to go get him some food. So we go talk to Old Mac. We're like, hey buddy, this Devourer is a problem. What can we possibly do to rectify the situation? And
give him some food.
Yeah, and Old Mac is like, listen, he loves these, and this is the word they use in the game, he loves these succulent junipers.
Yes.
It's the official jargon for whatever this creature is, a succulent juniper. It's like the next Pokemon evolution up of the juniper roots that we were talking about.
Yeah, they're like the juniper barks or whatever, the aloe seeds, basically. It's the next level of them.
The little brown plant guys that look like they belong in a Super Mario game.
Right.
Yeah. So they're the succulent version. They taste real good. They're like the truffles of the juniper world. And we got to get 10 of them. And that sounds like a giant pain, but they come in groups of like 8. And they're
all in the same area. So it's like all you got to do is stand there and hit things.
Yeah. What I thought was very interesting, and by interesting, I mean annoying, about this quest is that if you pull this quest up on the wiki, it'll say that there's a chance that the Devourer Joe will get stuck between 2 trees while you're running out to the junipers.
Yeah, I think that's what happened to me.
I was going to say, guess what happened to me? Joe got stuck between the exact 2 trees the wiki warned me about. But it doesn't matter, because that way, it's almost better that way, because that way he can't die. So you can just go get all the meats and bring it back to him while he's stuck on the tree. Right.
So did you pick up this quest and the primary quest at the same time? The first of the primary quests at the same time?
Yeah, I did. And so as you exit out the portal, you immediately see refugees getting butchered by centaurs, because your primary quest is to eliminate the centaur patrols that are killing the refugees, or attacking the refugees, I guess.
Right.
And I'm like losing my mind, like, I gotta save these refugees. Spoiler alert, you do not have to save the refugees. Nope. You simply have to kill the centaurs. The game expects the refugees to die. And even better, they sort of function as like meat shields. Yeah.
They're kind of meat shields, but one of the things that I found helpful is that if you pick up Hungry Devourer at the same time, Joe actually kind of helps you take out some of the centaurs. So, I mean, I appreciate another ally.
Yeah, Joe's level 8. I'm just so paranoid about quest NPCs dying in this game that I was like almost relieved that he got stuck on the tree.
Right.
While I was you kill the juniper roots, right, and they drop their succulent meats, and you have to pick it up. So not only does the Devourer Joe get stuck on a tree, one of my juniper meats got stuck on a tree, and I could not pick it up. Yeah, 100%. So this quest
Did you
is...
redo it?
No, I just went over to the other group. They give you like 25 junipers to kill.
Okay.
There's several different groups of them, so I just went over to the other group and finished it. But this quest is very broken by trees in the game.
Yeah.
Trees, the bitter enemy of the Guild Wars 1 quest designer.
Right.
So that quest was pretty easy. I found it interesting that you feed this Devourer one time, and they're like, okay, he's good. It won't be a problem anymore. he eats once a year. It's fine.
Okay.
So
it's a massive feeding, so he's good for a while.
It's like taking a bullet wound and the doctor putting a Band-Aid on it and saying you're good to go.
Right.
It just doesn't quite check out. So that quest was fairly simple, straightforward, and very muddled by trees. And then the main primary quest, which they're all called To Kryta : something, right?
Yes.
This one is To Kryta Refugees, and we just got to clear centaurs so that the refugees can make it through.
Yep.
It's not that exciting. I think there's like 6 groups of centaurs to kill.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to make it to Ranger Olsen, I think.
Yes, Ranger Olsen.
I want to say that he's a character we've run into before, but I couldn't tell you when.
Ranger Olsen. I don't know that we have run into him again. Or before.
A new Ascalonian Ranger.
I think he's yeah. Yeah, this is the only quest that he's involved in according to the wiki. I've never actually seen him.
And he doesn't have the next quest for you. You turn the quest into him, and then he tells you to go through the portal to Griffins Mouth. Fun fact, this is called Griffins Mouth, but we don't really know what a griffin is yet in the game.
No.
I don't think we've met any yet.
No.
There are a few areas of the Northern Shiver Peaks that the game doesn't take you to. We didn't go to Icetooth Cave, I don't think. No, we do. No, we don't. No, we go to Griffin's Mouth, which is a cave, but Icetooth Cave is a separate explorable that we don't go to. Yep. And then above that, there's a place called Anvil Rock, which we also don't go to. Mm-hmm. There weren't any quests that took you to those places, were there?
No.
Yeah,
no,
me
not
neither.
that I've seen.
Yeah, I went all through Beacon's Perch looking for quests, and there is not much action at Beacon's Perch. There is a portal in Beacon's Perch to a zone called Lornars Pass.
Yes.
Did you go through that portal?
I didn't, but I got excited when I saw it because I remembered that, Lornars Pass is also in Guild Wars 2 because the Shiver Peaks are also there. It
is, yes. And do you know what Lornars Pass is in Guild Wars 1?
No, I can't remember that I explored it. I must have done at some point in one of my first playthroughs, or in my early days of Guild Wars, but don't.
Yeah, so it's a high level zone. Yeah,
nice.
it's not a play. It's funny because the game dumps you here at like anywhere from level 12 to 14, and Lornars Pass is full of level 24 enemies.
Oh, fantastic! Okay.
Yeah, so if you go out,
that for later.
Yeah, if you go out into Lornars Pass, you're going to learn very quickly that you are not supposed to be here yet.
Right.
And in like factions and Nightfall, they do a lot better job of like making sure that can't happen. Right. But Prophecies is very janky, and they didn't have everything figured out yet. So yeah, they just have a mid-game outpost linking to a very end-game area. You can actually enter the underworld in Lornars Pass.
That right. Well, actually, that makes sense because you can do that in Guild Wars 2 also.
Yeah, the Grenth statue in Lornars Patch. Lornars Patch. The patch on Lornars pants. No. Yeah, there's a Grenth statue there, and you can use it to enter the underworld, like the ones at the underworld and Fisher of Woe entrance locations later in the game. And I think it's the only other Grenth statue that does that. Apart from those outposts that are specifically for that. So that's just kind of a weird Prophecies trivia thing.
There you go.
weird side tangent, just filling podcast space, chewing up airtime. So did you make it to? I assume since we are here doing a podcast episode that you made it to Griffin's Mouth and got the next quest.
Yes. Of course, when he tells you, go and find Master Seeker Nathaniel. He's waiting for you in Griffin's Mouth. He doesn't actually. Yeah, I don't know. I must have clicked through really quickly, and so I wasn't quite sure if I needed to go through the caves or if I needed to go a different way. And I was like, well, I'm just going to go this way where all of the Etten are. And that was the right way.
Yeah.
Through the cave.
This was the one where, Master Seeker Nathaniel, the guy who Olsen refers you to for the next quest, he is not Ascalonian. No. He is a Crichton, and he is a member of the White Mantle.
Yes, I wrote down that he's the first White Mantle NPC we've run into to give us a primary quest since Zane.
Yeah, since Ambassador Zane. Yeah, and while Master Seeker Nathaniel is not labeled as a White Mantle, there are 2 White Mantle Seekers with him that are very clearly labeled as White Mantle.
Yes.
They're all dressed.
And they're all wearing the White Mantle garb.
Yep, and they've got a weird symbol on their clothes that we'll come to recognize that symbol as the symbol of the White Mantle organization. It's kind of, I'll show it on the screen here for those of you watching the YouTube video. Everybody who is audio only, you're missing out. You're missing out on sweet White Mantle symbols. This is information you cannot get anywhere. It's not on the wiki. No, it is.
It is on the wiki.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, let's see, should we talk about the second miscellaneous quest, or should we talk about the primary quest?
Why don't we talk about the second miscellaneous quest before, since it also is in the Shiver Peaks, but in, the other direction.
Hot take, this quest sucks.
So the other quest is called The Deserters. So we're back to hunting down deserters from the Ascalonian army. And the one interesting thing, or at least the one interesting thing that I found, was that you join up with Sin and Menlo again, and Devona. Devona
is back for depending on whether you ran into her weird jogathon in Traveler's Vale, could be the 3rd time seeing her, could be your 2nd time seeing her. You could have not seen her since Pre-Searing Ascalon here. You could have not seen her at all in Pre-Searing Ascalon and be like, who the hell is this? Right? And they're kind of billed as like, we've been recruited to help, like as mercenaries, kind of.
Right.
But I assume they're meant, like story-wise, they're meant to be tagging along with the Ascalon refugee caravan.
Right.
This would be interesting if they had anything interesting to say.
Yeah, they don't really. They just have like pop-up filler dialogue.
Yeah, Sin especially has nothing interesting to say. Every time I've tried to talk to her this whole game, she pretty much just says, "I don't want to talk right now."
Pretty much.
And these are supposed to be like our companion characters, and Prophecies doesn't do a super good job of like making them our companion characters. Factions does a lot better job making them our companion characters. I don't know if Sin and Menlo make it through to Factions, or rather Sin and Devona, but I know Menlo does make it through to Factions.
Right.
But we have to go recover stolen supplies. Basically.
Stolen supplies from the deserters. And they're very task oriented, this trio. Devona's glad to have you along, but tells you that we've got to reach the deserters as quickly as possible before word reaches the people and causes any more strife.
Right.
Says, you lead the way and we'll watch your back. And it's like, thanks. Okay.
Right. And
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and Master Saberlin makes sure to let us know that it will not be possible for the refugees to cross the mountains without getting these supplies back. Meanwhile, I have already done the Gates of Kryta mission at the point that I'm doing this quest.
It's funny that, because this is a secondary quest, you think, why wasn't it... Well, one, why didn't it pop up with Hungry Devourer? You don't get it until you've actually finished that one. But maybe it's because Joe keeps eating their food. So they had no supplies.
Maybe it wouldn't be so dire if we hadn't learned about Joe eating everybody's food.
Right. So I think it's a pretty straightforward quest. You just kind of go through the same zone that you went through while you were killing the centaurs. And then a little bit further past. I think it's a bit of a hike to get to the the deserters and the supplies.
Yeah, and you literally just show up and murder these people.
Pretty much.
Because they don't look super heavily armed or anything.
No, and they are they're enemies right from the start. You don't even have a chance to try to talk to them or anything like that. They're going to put up a fight, and they're not even that high level.
Yeah, it's just an army of footman Quins.
Yeah, pretty much level 7s.
Yeah, it's very Apocalypse Now. We're showing up in full armor with bristling with weapons and fireballs.
And a trio of backup as well.
Level 13 backup. Mm-hmm. And we just eliminate these poor souls with extreme prejudice. It's pretty dirty. I mentioned the term third partying in episode 2. We third party the hell out of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're already fighting centaurs when we show up. And we just jackknife them from the side. They have no chance in hell. We obliterate them. And Devona's like, all right, me and the boys will get the supplies back. You go back and let them know that it's been liberated. So the game doesn't even make you run slowly back to the portal with the supplies.
I know.
Which surprised me.
Yeah, I was totally expecting that we were going to have to run it all back. But nope, they're like, all right, we got it. You go tell them.
I was like,
oh, okay.
I was like, the game giving me a break? What?
Yeah.
What game am I playing? But I just found the quest rather dull.
Yeah.
I was excited because the quest is okay, you're partying up with Devona, Menlo, and Sin, right? I was like, okay, let's get some character, let's get some character work out of these
character work, and I was like, well, if we're gonna have if we're calling in the big guns, this is gonna be a kind of a difficult enemies. No, not at all.
Yeah, no. Why are they there?
I don't know.
You'd think there.
I don't know.
You'd think there was going to be a level 15 deserter in full plate mail with a giant hammer or something.
Yeah.
But
I guess partly to show us that they are also coming across.
See, now
heading towards Kryta, I guess.
Wouldn't it have been great if these characters accompanied us on some of the missions and in some of the primary quests?
You mean if they'd been our henchmen?
You mean if they'd... Oh, I see what you're alluding to there. Foreshadowing. Yeah. But imagine if these tag-along characters were actually tag-along characters.
Yeah. Because right now we have no real investment with them. I mean, we're hanging out with Stefan and Little Tom and Orion.
Yeah, no, Stefan and Little Tom are our ride or dies. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't really know Menlo and Sin and Devona. I've run into them a handful of times.
Yeah, well, and Sin won't talk to you.
And so. Sin doesn't care for me. Right. So I don't know how to reach her, right? I don't know what she wants. So yeah, kind of dropped the ball with this quest promises a lot and then under-delivers consistently.
Yeah.
I think we are the first people to ever thoroughly review this quest.
It's possible.
I think in the history of the game it has not happened. A detailed review of the deserters.
Okay. Well, there you go. You heard it here first, people, on Tyria then.
Bingo, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the deep lore content that people show up to this podcast for. So yeah, we do that. Not super interesting. And then back to the primary quest chain that we were working on. We zone through the portal to Griffin's Mouth. Griffin's Mouth is a big old ice cave. And the White Mantle Seekers there, including Master Seeker Nathaniel, tell us, I believe Nathaniel says, hey, take my pet wolf, Snow, and follow Aiden. Aiden is another one of these tag-along characters. We've run into him a few times. I think we both helped him kill some char.
Yes, he's a little bit more useful.
Yeah, he actually does stuff. Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of nice. Okay, Aiden's making the trek across the mountains with us. Thanks.
Yeah, did the pet wolf Snow help you with this quest in any way?
I mean, he just kind of led the way to the markers. I think that's what his role is.
I didn't see him at all. The guy was like, my wolf's gonna help, and then I just started doing the quest and forgot about the wolf.
Well, because the wolf takes off.
Yeah, I think I stopped.
Just keeps going.
I think I stopped to write down White Mantle Seekers, right? And the wolf is gone at this point.
Well, and he just keeps moving. If you stop to fight, the dude will just keep going.
And I don't think he gets attacked by enemies because he's there waiting with Aiden when I reached Aiden at the end of the quest.
So what he does is, as you get close to a marker, so he waits at each marker for you. And then as you get close, he just goes to the next one.
You want to know what I did?
What did you do?
I completely blew off the markers. You don't have to grab these. So
I always grab them. I always pick them up, even though you really don't have to. You can just leave them there on the ground, because apparently Nathaniel tells you they just look like pebbles. And I'm like, yeah, but if we can find them, someone else will. So I always, I bring in my little RPing mode, and I just thought, well, I'm going to take them. I'm not going to let anybody else follow.
Well, because I let
behind us.
And I should have picked him up, because following Guild Wars quest logic, if I get to Aiden without these markers, I'm going to have to go back and get them.
Go back and pick them. Uh-huh. Yeah, but he doesn't actually ask you for them. He's just kind of like, hey, cool, thanks. I'm glad that you're here.
Well, and what clued me into this was where the quest marker is. So the quest marker doesn't follow the markers. The quest marker just is on Aiden immediately. Yeah. So I figured I could probably just get to him and call it a day.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you'll end up going down the right path anyway.
You will, and that brings me to another point that I wrote down about this quest, is that you said you kind of skipped through Nathaniel's dialogue, but
yeah, I think so.
Well, he makes the comment that it's very easy to take a wrong turn and get lost in these ice caves. Yes. But this is the most linear this is the most linear map in the entire game.
So one of the things, because the density of snow in this one is pretty, they're not hard, but there are a lot of them. And
this is where they live.
Yeah.
This is their home.
So if you want to barrel past, there are a couple of off little side branches of the cave where there are some more and hanging out. But you can kind of hug one side of the wall and just keep following the path, the main path, and avoid the side paths, and you'll never have to fight those side unless you over aggro.
Yeah, so the zone, Griffin's Mouth, it's just the ice cave. It's a really tiny zone. If you vanquish this zone, it's less than 50 enemies. And what it is there's a singular fork in the cave, and it joins up again immediately. And that's about the extent. I think there's an extra room on the side, but yeah, the idea that it's easy to take a wrong turn and get completely lost in this ice cave is comical.
Yeah.
So I don't know that. I think Master Seeker Nathaniel should have his Master Seeker title revoked if he can't handle the Griffin's Mouth ice cave, because a toddler on a tricycle could get to the end of this thing successfully. Mm-hmm. You don't need an Eldritch Sextant to navigate your way through this ice cave.
No.
But being a White Mantle, you know that Master Seeker Nathaniel probably has one and probably needs it. I can't get over Eldritch Sextants. I'm gonna bring them up consistently throughout the rest of the show.
That's okay. I had a long road trip today, and I was listening to our old show, and you actually mentioned Eldritch in that one as well, and I burst out laughing.
Hell yes. Okay, I'm gonna keep it consistent. We're gonna be talking about like Living World Season 3, and I'm gonna bring up Eldritch Sextants.
There you go.
And everybody's going to be tired of it by then. They're going to roll their eyes and be like, I'm unsubscribing from this channel. And yeah, this is the zone where we find the unnamed Etten bosses that don't have any skills.
Right.
I had a warrior and a monk. What did you have?
I had a monk. And I think I only had the monk. I don't think I even ran into the warrior.
Prophecies does have random boss spawning in like the open world and in missions. There's entirely a possibility that there's different numbers of these bosses that can spawn.
Yeah. Was the warrior also named Snow Etten?
It was, yeah.
Wow.
Shocker, it was.
I guess that kind of shows you that they're just they weren't even interesting characters to the devs because they didn't give them like a pimped out name.
Yeah,
all of the bosses that we've come across so far, for the most part, they've had really cool names.
Well, and this is like a nothing area in the middle of the game where the story is kind of really slowed down. And I have a feeling that somebody started working on this, got put on something else, and just never came back to finishing these two bosses.
They never hit paste from their document to give these Ettins their names.
Or their skills. Like, there's no monk skills on his skill. He has no skills, brother.
Poor guy.
Yeah, no, he never had a chance. Utterly useless monk. But I don't know that I wrote down anything that Aiden said. I don't think any of it was particularly interesting. He just wants us to speak with Ambassador Braun.
Yeah, he wants you to go talk to Ambassador Braun. He says that he'll help you get the refugees sheltered. And then he also tells you you've done great deeds today. And this is like, Saberlin also tells us the same thing. When we've turned in the deserters quest,
right? When we just got done like taking a flamethrower to a group of defenseless refugees.
Yeah, you've done great deeds today, and it's like, and I'm like, okay, so this is an interesting pat on the back from an old ally, and I'm wondering, is it because we're trying to get the refugees to Kryta while we're still dealing with Rurik's loss? Because we really haven't seen the player character even talk about Rurik, really.
No, nobody has.
Yeah,
there hasn't been very much like. There will be a little bit later in this episode, but for the most part, like nobody's really talking about Rurik. I think Saberlin mentions like, oh man, when we take this primary quest chain, like, oh man, now that Rurik's gone, it's gonna be tough, right? Yeah. But it's pretty downplayed so far. It's not super.
So far, yeah.
It's not that deep, right?
No.
And yeah, we need to get in touch with somebody named Ambassador Braun. Very robust diplomatic department in the White Mantle organizational structure. Lots of ambassadors. This is a very hireable role. Lots of openings in the White Mantle infrastructure for ambassadors, because there's a ton of these guys, and they seem to be differing levels, because like Ambassador Braun very clearly works for Ambassador Zane. Ambassador Zane is like the team lead of the ambassadors. Right. He doesn't officially have a supervisor title, but he is the boss. But he doesn't make any more money than the other ambassadors.
No, Ambassador Braun's like his project manager or something like that.
Yeah, like Ambassador Zane is delegating out here.
Right.
So and Ambassador Braun's whole job is literally just to say, go talk to Ambassador Zane.
Yeah. Yeah, and Aiden tells us that Braun is waiting in Scoundrel's Rise, which is literally just through the portal.
It's a few feet away, yeah.
Uh-huh. And the funny thing that I found is that it's like you've got this really, really icy cave where all the Snow Ettins live.
Yeah.
You go through the portal and you're immediately like in
Hawaii.
Kryta. Which with palm trees and lots of different new enemies.
White sandy beaches. There's shipwrecks.
Yeah.
This ice cave is like a wormhole to another dimension.
Yeah, like there's no like even thawing ground to like show you that the temperature is going to be warming up soon.
Now, I'm sure somebody can come up with an example of where this happens somewhere on the Earth, but I don't have that example, so this is weird to me.
Don't have that example. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very jarring, but listen, no hate, because I'm kind of tired
No.
of the mountains the same way I was kind of tired of Fallout New Vegas by the end of Ascalon.
Right. Yeah, and you actually like Hawaii Krita.
I do like Hawaii Krita. So I was very happy to hit the sandy beaches, put my sandals on, right?
Yeah.
Put a towel out, and then get smacked across the face by a ghoul.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of undead in Krita, isn't there?
There are a lot. And by a lot, we mean a lot.
Yeah, it's like you said, Ambassador Braun is like right on the other side of the portal, and when we talk to him, he's like, all right, first things first, there's a huge undead problem here.
So, and here's the thing too, like, here's your clue number one. Ambassador Braun is right through the portal, and he's standing right next to a res shrine.
He is, yeah, because nowhere else is safe.
No.
Nowhere is safe. You cannot walk 10 feet without running into, like, and this is a huge level spike difficulty as well. Like, the zombie warlocks are level 14.
Yeah.
It's wild out here.
Yeah. The zombie warlocks are like 14. The Murgoyle, these are such interesting names. Murgoyle wave breakers. Well, and all of the Murgoyles really, because there are different varieties. They're all like 13, 14 as well.
I was gonna say, what are Murgoyles?
Dude, they're like the evolved version of I can't even describe them.
Well,
they're like little lizard people with like
They're leveled up gargoyles.
Yeah.
But they're called Murgoyles, which is an inherently silly name.
Well, no, I'll tell you why. It's because they're from the sea.
Right, yeah, they're like mer people if mer people were gargoyles.
Right. Well, I mean, you know.
It's a very funny name to me, Murgoyle.
It is. So we've got Murgoyles now. We've got the zombies. We've got bog scales. Fun times. Remember the little scales that were around in pre-searing?
Did you run into bog scales?
I did.
I did not run into any.
Oh, yeah, I did.
I didn't even have them on our bestiary list.
Yeah. Grasping ghouls are the other ones.
Yeah, and a lot of these, so like the Murgoyles and the scales are just like the next level up of a race of enemy type, right? Race of enemy type. What a way to describe MMO monsters.
Yeah, there you go.
The undead are like brand new.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different kinds. I think it's mostly ghouls and zombie warlocks in Scoundrels Rise, but once we get into the mission, there's a whole charcuterie board of these undead. It gets really fun really fast, and it goes from fun to miserable even faster.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And are there any drakes in Scoundrels Rise?
I did not see any.
No,
I didn't write down that I'd seen any anyway.
We kind of glazed over the drakes last episode, but drakes were actually introduced into the game last episode with the missions. One of the bonuses was to kill a lightning drake, and then dagnar Stone Pate rides a lightning drake, or a frost drake, probably actually, something like that. I don't know. So we have seen drakes. They're pretty cool looking actually.
They're big lizards.
Yeah, they look more like dinosaurs than dragons.
Yeah.
Which I think is very cool. And there's a lot of different kinds of drakes in the game. Very fun enemy. Very hard-hitting elementalist most of the time.
Yes.
And they come in like all varieties. Like the frost drakes are water elementalists, and these ones that we run into in Krita are air elementalists, lightning magic type stuff.
Did you run into drakes in Krita?
Yeah, in the mission.
Did I not write these down? All right.
Did you do the bonus?
I did do the bonus.
Then you probably definitely ran into the drakes, but you probably don't remember them because the smoke phantoms were the real horror.
Oh my god, yes. The smoke phantoms were the real horror. Yes, you're right. I did run into drakes, but because we ran into them last time, I didn't write them down this time. Okay, That's what it was. Okay. It's coming back to me now.
But
The smoke
before,
phantoms had smoked up my memory. Sorry.
yeah, no, I have genuine trauma from the smoke phantoms.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
but before the smoke phantoms, we are
Yes.
sitting on a beach with Ambassador Braun and Aiden. This is what I have in my notes. Aiden gives us the letter for Ambassador Zane about Rurik's death.
Yes.
But we're to deliver it to Braun, because
Right.
Ambassador Zane is unavailable, I guess.
Yeah.
And then Braun gives us the ultimatum, not ultimatum, but he's like, hey, if you get to Gates of Kryta, you can talk with the White Mantle there, and they should be able to set you up.
Mm-hmm.
I think, is how it goes.
Well, Braun tells us the undead have risen. The gates of Lion's Arch have been closed.
Yeah, LA is closed. Lion's Arch, LA is closed due to the undead problem. They're all over the place, and we got to... Okay, I see it now. I was missing a bullet point. Braun gives us a letter of kind of like entry. And he says to provide it to the Regent of Lion's Arch, who is apparently someone named Witness Kasori.
Yes. I found it interesting that they've got regents.
Yeah, because the regent of a city is like the mayor, right?
You would think so, yes.
But this person's just a podium guy.
Mm-hmm.
Kasori's our podium guy.
Yeah.
At Gates of Kryta.
But this guy, he gets the title regent, so presumably he's a stand-in for the monarch.
Right, but except that this person is like a mid-level stooge in the White Mantle and doesn't have any real power. Because when we asked the regent of the city, hey, can we get into Lion's Arch? She's like, you're going to have to talk to someone else.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
She's like, you're going to have to talk to my man Justiciar Hadleon. He's the real guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, once we get to the Gates of Kryta, it's just like a quick jaunt through a zone called Scoundrel's Rise. There's some shipwrecks. The beach is pretty. It's infested with undead. And it's like the ghouls and the zombie warlocks aren't that hard by themselves, but once you pair them up with Murgoyles, they start to get kind of difficult, kind of sloggy.
Well, and part of the reason is that the Murgoyles tend to have hex skills.
Yeah.
And then like the undead, the ghouls and whatnot, they have poison.
And the skill Mind Rack, by itself, it doesn't seem that good. But when there's like 5 different mesmers and they all have it, what it essentially does is it deletes your energy. Like you lose 5 energy when they cast this on you. And when 4 of them do it at once, I only have 20 energy. So I just get to not do anything for these 5.
Mind Rack is a great skill if you are a mesmer as the player character.
It is, and it also, because it's actually used in a little build nerdism for a second, but Mind Rack is a key skill in like Necrosis builds, Mesmer Necromancer, because it applies in like Discord builds, because it applies a hex, and then you can use skills that need a hex on the enemy to trigger, and it's a really easy low energy cost hex. So people use Mind Rack. It's a skill. Yes. Interesting.
And if you're a Guild Wars 2 player, you'll recognize that Mind Rack actually got ported into the game as one of the shatters for Mesmers.
Is it one of the shatters?
It is.
I have like a couple 100 hours on Mesmer, and I don't think I ever made it to reading any of the skill names.
That's okay. I don't think you actually like to shatter right now either, so it's fine.
Yeah, Guild Wars 2 Mesmer is an entirely different beast that I don't know that I'll ever wrap my brain around.
That's okay.
Which is why I'm going to be playing Warrior in Guild Wars 2. Because I have a very simple brain that likes to hit things.
So once we get to this, Kasori says maybe she can help you. Go see Kasori, right? Is what Braun tells us. Sorry. So Kasori is a woman.
Yes. Podium guy is a gender neutral term. At least the way I use it is. Anyone can be podium guy.
Right.
Kasori is podium guy.
Mm-hmm. Or gal, and if you really want us to get technical.
Podium gal also sounds good, and I now want to start using it.
There you go. So Gates of Kryta, pretty straightforward, kind of. We've got to go and meet up with some dude named Justiciar Hadleon.
Yes.
Right? We have to. Our objectives are to to secure a safe place for your people to settle. So we have to make contact with the local authorities.
Yeah.
And how easy was it to make contact with them initially?
So it's a giant pain in the ass, basically, because you have to wade through a bunch of undead.
A lot of them.
Before you started the mission, did you chit chat through any of Kasori's like optional dialogue?
I want to say that I did.
She's got like some fun like history. She says it's been 2 years since anyone from Ascalon has set foot in Kryta.
And that they were also fighting the Char.
Yeah. She mentions the Char invasion, which like the game I feel like has not, because this is like a pivotal piece of lore that like a lot of the branching story of the future games is like based off of, and I feel like the game hasn't introduced us that well to this like series of events. Like the game is called Guild Wars, and there are a series of wars in the history of Tyria called the Guild Wars, and one of the like the second or the third, I think the second Guild War has just recently ended. And that involved the Char invading Kryta and Or being a nation that we don't even know anything about. Like the game hasn't even told us anything about this nation, right? Or, and it's mentioned later in this mission. We're going to talk about it.
Yes.
So yeah, Kasori gives us the lowdown on like the Char invaded. The royal family ran away from Kryta. And we learn about some guy called Saul D'Alessio. Okay. And he kind of stepped in, formed the White Mantle, and beat back the Char. And now the White Mantle are kind of the power in Kryta, and it's not ruled by a monarchy. It's ruled by this theocracy, I want to say.
Yeah, because they're all kind of seeing Saul D'Alessio as like their prophet, their guru, their divinely inspired leader somehow.
There's actually there's some really fun like cult language in this mission that's like really juicy. So yeah, she directs us to talk to Justiciar Hadleon. She mentions Kryta has never been more prosperous than under the White Mantle. That sounds like something the White Mantle would say.
Right.
And my favorite
just Eldritch Sextants and like just strong boxes full of gold to bribe people. So, they're pretty prosperous.
They are bribing Eldritch Sextants all over the globe. Okay. Yeah. There's Eldritch Sextants in Cantha and the Battle Isles. My favorite Witness Kasori line is, quote, "If you like it here, maybe you'll even join the White Mantle."
Yeah.
So she's already like, you want to join up? So I like that. Like they really lay it on thick with like the White Mantle people being like white robed crazies.
Yeah.
And then, so after we talk to her, then we can jump into the mission, which points us in the direction of Mr. Hadleon.
Yes.
And did you talk to the pig?
I talked to the pig. I forgot to grab the pig initially, but it actually kind of worked out because then I didn't have to fight and keep an eye on the pig. Even though apparently the wiki says that the pig will help you fight, so I was like, well, I fought him. Not only
will the pig help you fight, the pig is invincible.
I know. He's like an invincible tank. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, he's like a pivotal. Yeah, if you're struggling with hard mode, he's like pivotal.
Yes.
I did find a cool a boss in this mission named Haja Bloodwhale, and I was like, that's a sweet name.
That is a sweet name. I don't. Where did you find that one?
It was one of the earliest ones. It's like the first boss I came across. It was a ghoul.
Oh.
I think it was a warrior.
Okay, I don't know that I found that one.
Yeah, again, random boss spawns in prophecies. I ran into a boss later in the mission named Nazim the Damned. Did you find this guy?
Necro? Was this a Necro?
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that guy.
What I thought was so funny about this is I just got this account, so I have like default settings on. And if you ping him like, I'm attacking Nazim the Damned, it'll say it in the chat box. It censors his name out. because I have default chat censoring on.
Oh my heavens.
So it censors the swear word in his name, even though it's the name of a character in the game.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah. So we have to make our way towards this kind of like square with a gate.
Yeah.
The gate like into Caretakers proper. And there is so much dialogue going on in this square that I missed most of it because none of it appears in the chat box.
No, I know. That was very annoying.
I noticed some villagers talking, and I missed the whole bonus dialogue between the historian and his son.
So when you pick up the pig, you got to lead him back to his owner.
I assume. Yeah, the bonus is
yeah.
hazy for me, honestly.
Yeah, this is a weird bonus.
It is. It's not super well explained. The dialogue is really easy to miss, and if you don't look up on the wiki first, you're not going to do this.
Yeah, like, why are we taking the pig to its owner hanging out by the gate to Lion's Arch, or to Kryta?
Right.
What's happening here?
And like I said, I missed the dialogue because I saw these two villagers having like an auto conversation where they're like, "Is it true all the undead come from Or?" And I was like, "That's interesting. I'm going to listen to this conversation." Meanwhile, the whole bonus dialogue is playing off to my left, and I'm not seeing any of it. But yeah, apparently we bring this guy's pig, and he's like, "Would you like to go fetch an ancient Orion tome from a shipwreck for me?" That's our reward for bringing his pig back, is more work.
Well, but the thing is that we bring. See, I didn't even get that guy's dialogue, so I don't know if it's the game bugged out or if I missed something. Because I brought the pig to the kid because he's just like the little kid is the one who owns the pig,
right?
And the pig is like, "Oh, thank you," or the kid is like, "Oh, thank you for bringing back Oink," because that's the pig's name.
Yes. And
all of a sudden, the game just says, "Go and retrieve the tome." Or whatever it is that we've got to go get. And I'm like, okay. But I was like, what?
Prophecies is very janky, guys.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm not really sure. I know because I've read the wiki that I'm supposed to go bring it back for this historian. But the historian never actually said anything to me. Or if he did, it wasn't in my chat box. And yep.
It's entirely possible that there's a bug where his dialogue just doesn't even play, because that sounds like not only some prophecy shit, but just from some Guild Wars 1 shit in general. Like, that's Guild Wars 1 right there. I did think it was interesting that when the villagers are talking about the undead being from Or, that they mentioned that their uniforms look like the old ones the Orion army would wear. I never. I did know that the undead are related to all the dead from the war with Or, but I never knew that it was like common knowledge to like the villagers, right?
Right.
So that's a little bit of good flavor.
Yeah, and I guess it makes sense because if they were, part of the Guild War, right, or the Nation of Or.
Yeah, because
I'm really sure on. With Kryta and I guess Ascalon, the villagers would have seen these uniforms. Yeah,
because I think what happened was the Guild Wars were between the three great human nations of Tyria, right? Kryta, Or, and Ascalon, and what ended them was them having to team up to beat the Char.
Right. I
think. A knowledgeable viewer can correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't do my homework before the episode because I'm a bad podcaster. But that's always the impression that I had.
That is the impression that I got as well.
And we're going to explore that a little more in the bonus mission pack that we'll do in probably 2 episodes. And then did you notice that the henchmen say like relevant things to having just arrived in Kryta?
Yes.
Little Tom's is my favorite. He says there's something a little off about these white mantle fellas.
My favorite was Alicia getting really, really annoyed with the white mantle. She said, "I don't like these white mantle. That I don't." Essentially, I'm paraphrasing here because I don't have the quote written down, but she's basically saying, "I don't like that they are following the old gods."
Right. Yeah. because they don't worship the Six. They worship. It's not really clear what they worship. They call them the Unseen Ones, which we heard Ambassador Zane and Witness Rastin refer to them as. Yeah. And then later in this mission, a White Mantle Seeker uses the term the Divine Caretakers.
Yeah.
Which I've played like 11,000 hours of Guild Wars cumulatively, and I've never heard that before to refer to the ones the White Mantle worship. I like it, though. I like Divine Caretakers. That's a cool bit of culty flavor phrasing.
Right.
And so I like that the henchman kind of like Reyna, the archer henchman. She's like, oh, there must be abundant natural resources here, because it's so like pretty and vibrant in comparison to the desolate hellscape of Ascalon.
Right.
Did you notice when you got down to the beach that the sea spray hitting the rocks is actually animated? Like there's like a spray animation that comes up.
I don't know that I actually made it down to the beach, like that close to the beach this time.
It's easy to miss. I happened to look off into the distance and see it, and I was like, that's a bit extra
for a 2005 game.
Yeah, for Guild Wars Prophecies, it looked pretty extra. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So once we get to that square and we chit chat with who's the Justiciar that we talked to there? Because it's not Hablion. We talked to a different guy first.
We have to talk to...
Is it Justiciar Thomas?
No, that doesn't sound right. Hang on. Torimo, maybe?
Torimo, that's the one. Yep.
Yeah.
Justiciar Torimo, the anime name.
Yes. And he's just kind of like hanging out. He's like, yeah, no, I can't let you through. You gotta go talk to Hablion. He's up at the beach kind of ways a bit. Go find him.
Yeah, this mission is really an exercise in like peak bureaucracy, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Because we talk to Ambassador Braun, who sends us to Witness Kasori, who sends us to Justiciar Hablion, and then we find another Justiciar, Torimo, and we're like, oh, you're a Justiciar too, right? You should be able to hook us up. And he's like, no, you're really gonna have to talk to Hablion. I can't help you. So yeah, we're taking our paperwork everywhere, and nobody can file it for us. Essentially,
no one can stamp our our entry, our visa entry into Kryta.
Yeah. Oh, I do have. I did write. Oh no, that's for after the bonus. So I wrote down some of the historian's dialogue, but it's the end dialogue, not the starter dialogue.
Okay.
So the next step is because on our way to Hablion is where the bonus takes place.
Yeah.
So our next step is to do the bonus. How did you fare?
I nearly got wrecked on several occasions. Because why?
Because
I'm like level 14 or 15.
This bonus is heart attack inducing.
Oh my gosh. Well, one, you've got enemies. Okay, why are the Drakes like level 18?
They are level 18.
18. One 8. And I was like, what is happening here? I'm little 14 still. Like and my henchmen are all level 10s.
Yeah. And we are in armor. We are in armor that we purchased at level 3 in Ascalon City.
Yes. So, yeah, we're all gonna die. That's all I kept thinking. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to restart this mission. I don't know how many times.
And that's why this is so anxiety-inducing, because restarting... We've talked about it before, but restarting a mission in Guild Wars is the worst.
Absolutely.
If you die in a mission, if everyone in your party dies, you have to start over from the beginning.
Yeah, and I had looked up on the wiki. All I did on the wiki was like kind of look through the walkthrough information, pulled up the map, and then I just went for it. I didn't look down at the enemy listings to see their levels, because that would have been the smart thing to do.
Well, and the game kind of bait and switches you. It makes you think you're in the clear. Yeah. You're like, oh, I've got the tome. I just got to run it back now.
Right.
And that's when the smoke phantoms start spawning in.
Gosh. And the smoke phantoms are just as bad in terms of level. Sorry.
They're level 17, yeah. And they come in groups of 3, not 2. The Drakes only come in groups of 2. The smoke phantoms spawn in groups of 3. And they hit you so incredibly hard. But what got me the most about the Smoke Phantoms is they have super high damage resistance.
Uh-huh.
It's really hard to damage these guys effectively. They take forever to kill. They're tanks.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
So yeah, they're sitting there just wailing on me, taking everyone for like half health or more with each spell. And I've just got to...
Did you lose any of your people?
Oh, Alicia died every time.
Oh my gosh, same.
Yeah, she had probably maxed out death penalty by the time we got out of that little river.
Yeah. And of course I hadn't taken a res signet on my bar. And I was like, it's all gonna be over. I'm never gonna finish this mission in one go.
I was genuinely concerned. I was like, is this where the podcast stops? Is it over?
No, because we're not quitters here.
No, yeah, I would have done what I needed to do. Right, I'll go to Kamadan and buy a consumable set. Like I'll get them done.
Right.
I'll cheat. I don't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for the bonus, you have to go investigate this shipwreck that the historian at the square sends you to, and retrieve an ancient Orion tome out of a chest in the shipwreck. Kind of cool, honestly.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. It's got like a Tomb Raider, like Uncharted vibes until the Smoke Phantoms start, and then
which happens as soon as you touch the friggin' tome.
Yeah, and then they keep spawning as you run out of the river area. So there's like 3 or 4 groups of them.
And the sound, I got caught by, I think it was 3 groups. The first one, obviously, and then one, I was kind of hoofing my way along, and then a second group spawned, and I was like, oh no, and of course all my people turned to fight, and I was like, damn it, we can't just run past these guys.
You probably, like, yeah, because there's so many groups that spawn, all your guys would die with like the first 2 groups, and then you would have to run past the next ones by yourself, and you'd probably just die.
Well, and here's where I was like, I should have kept the pig.
Like imagine the pig, like they start wailing on the pig and they can't do any damage. You could actually get through this without having a heart attack.
I know.
But yeah, I managed to get through it without losing everybody.
Yep, same.
And once you get out of the water, you're free and clear.
Yeah.
So I got to run the book back to this historian.
I know. I was like, please take it. Just get this thing out of my hands.
Well, and then the historian has the audacity to be like, "Ah, yes, the memoirs of Thaddeus Lamount," and I'm like, that means nothing to me.
I know. I was like, how do we have a Thaddeus in here?
And then what gets me is he says no more about it after that.
No,
I sat there expecting his dialogue to continue rolling.
I clicked on him so many times. I'm like, really? That's all you're going to tell me about this? Thanks, jerk.
You literally take the book back to him, you give it to him, and he's like, "Ah, yes, as I suspected, the memoirs of the long-lost historian Thaddeus Lamount." And that's the end of his dialogue.
Yeah.
It's very unfinished. Disappointing bonus. I was hoping for more lore. Very little lore.
Yeah. Very little, yeah.
And then,
but I guess we saw that the Orion ships are there.
We did, yeah. We get to see a lot of shipwrecks. That's cool. This mission kind of introduces us to the idea of ore. The villagers are talking about how the undead are being reanimated from ore.
Yeah, and I think also too I think the one thing the bonus also teaches you is that there's something about Orion either books or artifacts or whatever that's a little hinky.
Yeah, because the book is essentially haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll put a picture of the if I haven't already, I'll put a picture of the Smoke Phantoms up on screen because they're pretty scary looking.
And they have a sound, I should say, whenever they pop up, that is as memorable as the Devourers.
What would you say a Smoke Phantom sounds like when it spawns in?
I was trying to think if I could even try to imitate it, but it's got like this kind of hollowy, creepy sound, almost like air being sucked in. You know,
it's ghostly.
It's very ghostly, yeah, and they kind of look like we go with the Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings reference. I mean, you kind of got they kind of have like the black robes, kind of Nazgul-y.
Kind of Dementory.
Dementory, yeah.
Yeah, they look like Grim Reaper Nazgul.
Yeah, yeah.
With like really scary claw hands, and they've got no face. Like they've just got like a chasm, a black chasm for a face, hooded. Yeah. They're really scary looking, and they do a lot of damage, and I don't like them.
Wreck your shit.
Yeah, and I had bad dreams about them.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, the bonus, very difficult if you do it at the level that you're probably going to be. Like, even a full party of like level 13, 14 players would probably struggle with taking on the sheer amount of damage output of the drakes and the smoke phantoms in the bonus.
Yeah.
And then I had trouble with some of the... So once you move past the bonus and you start heading towards Justiciar Hableon, how many times am I going to be able to say Justiciar without messing it up? Well, let's find out. I'm not going to put a counter up because that would be way too much work. But we're headed towards this bridge on the beach, and Hableon's on the other side of it. And this is where we start to run into more different types of undead, because they have earth elementalists called undead sorcerers or skeleton sorcerers, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm a warrior, and earth elementalists do a lot of blinding. And I also have 2 other warriors in my 6-person party. So 50% of my party are warriors. And we are functionally useless if there's a skeleton sorcerer.
That's right, because you did go in three warriors, huh?
Yeah, I rolled squad deep on the warrior train, and it was a mistake for this mission because we were just getting obliterated by these skeleton sorcerers because they just blind my entire front line, and then I've got half functionality for my party. So we basically just served as meat shields. So it became a priority target, the skeleton sorcerers.
Yeah.
And one of them, there's a boss of one of them, and that fight nearly killed me. The fight in the middle of the bridge. I think it was a Mesmer boss, actually, but he's got a lot of elementalists with him. And
yeah, that guy, yes.
Yeah, they almost took me to the cleaners.
Yeah, same. I can't remember if I flagged or if I pushed them kind of down the hill, and I was like, maybe I'll get some height advantage.
Yeah, I just wailed on the boss until he dies. It's always weird, like a struggle to decide whether to go for the boss first or the trash first.
Yeah.
Because the bosses have natural health regeneration, then they have triple health. So it takes a lot longer to kill a boss, but they can also be a lot more dangerous. In Prophecies, I think it's usually better to kill the trash first, because bosses don't do double damage, whereas in Factions and Nightfall, bosses do double damage.
Right.
So I tried to focus on taking out the elementalists first, and then getting the boss, and that I managed to squeak it out that way. And then Hableon is on kind of the other side of that fight, so that fight's on a bridge. That bridge is where I ran into the White Mantle Seekers that referred to the beings that they worship as the divine caretakers. He says the divine caretakers have prepared for the coming of the undead. So some level of foresight about whatever is going on with the undead issue in Kryta. We don't know the source of this issue, but apparently the White Mantle knows more about it than we do.
Right.
And when you meet Hableon on the beach, he's got like special Justiciar armor. He like looks a little different from the rest of the Justiciars.
He does. His armor's pretty badass.
Yeah, his armor's really big, like flared out, big shoulder pads, big helmet, very World of Warcraft looking.
Yeah, and he's a ranger.
Is he a ranger?
Yeah, he's got a bow.
Does he? Yeah. I mean, I'm a warrior. I've got a bow.
Well, I mean, but you're not fighting with your bow all the time.
Doesn't he have an axe also?
I didn't. If he does, I didn't see it because I was too busy trying not to let him die. Because he's another one that you have to babysit. Because he just runs off.
He pulls a Rurik. Yeah, he just sprints off. Like I was like typing in something on my notepad, and then I looked to my other screen, and he's like 18 feet ahead of me, charging into an enemy group.
I know. I was like, oh no, not again.
And the enemy groups are bigger because they are expecting you to fight with Hableon and his goons.
Right, exactly.
So I
was trying to stick to him as much as possible.
Yeah, I had to catch up with him, and he says, did you notice something about Hableon? Did you notice his eyes?
So he's got this face guard that all you see is his eyes, really.
He has the eyes of like a 1940s Disney character.
In what way?
They're just very large and cartoonish.
Yeah, and I wonder if they did it that way because of the eye guard that they did. Like, did they enlarge his eyes?
I don't know. But
don't know.
There are no other eyes in Guild Wars I can think of that look like this. They're gargantuan. He's got big peepers on him.
He does.
So yeah, Hableon's weird looking. He's really huge, cool armor.
He's a big dude. Yeah, big guy. And I'm like, why do you need our help? You look like you're pretty brawny.
Right, yeah.
Can you take him out?
I think he's like level 18 or something.
I think so, yeah.
I'm sure a Smoke Phantom would kick his ass either way. I don't think we run into any more Smoke Phantoms, though, thank God.
Oh, God, thank God, no.
One thing we do run into is Necrid Horsemen.
Oh, Lord.
Necrid Horsemen look so cool.
Yeah, they do.
They're also, I believe they are the only depiction of horses in Guild Wars.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Like, horses straight up, like, don't exist in Guild Wars, like, in the universe at all. There's just no horses, except for the Necrid Horsemen.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I was on the wiki. If you show this on screen, the wiki has what looks like a Necrid Horseman, but it looks like So the rider, did you notice that the riders are a bit skeletal? Because, they're undead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the wiki has a picture of this horseman, and he looks like he may have been a char because he's got horns.
Yes, the Necrid Horsemen totally have horns. I was wondering if it was a helmet.
Yeah, it was very strange, and I was like, "Are they charred skeletons? What's going on here?"
Riding horses that technically don't exist in Guild Wars.
I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just,
Yeah, the Necrid Horsemen, big mystery. A lot of mysteries going on with the Necrid Horsemen.
Yeah.
They're necromancers. They're mean.
They're very mean.
Yeah, and then there's another enemy type that really, really is annoying to deal with are the skeleton archers.
Yes.
Because they poison you.
Yes.
And the swamp also poisons you.
Also poisons you, yes. There's so much poison, and I have no Condi cleanse.
And the henchmen AI have no concept of not standing in this shit.
No. And I'm like, please follow me as I try to, hug the edge of this poison water. And they're like, yeah, no, we're just going to wade right straight through it. And all you can do is just watch their health, rapidly decrease.
And if anything, they are, their AI likes to stand in this shit.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the latter part of this mission takes you through a swamp where the water, you stand in it and your health degenerates. We saw this in pre-searing in the catacombs when we had to heal the incompetent abbot as he retrieved a relic from, his basement.
Right.
Still not happy about that. But... Now the stakes have been dialed up to 11, and we have to fight a bunch of undead that are way higher level than us and our level 10 henchmen. Henchmen should really be level 12 for this mission.
Yes, it would be helpful. 12 or even 13 I would have been happy with, but not level 10. Level 10 is bad.
Yeah.
It's a sad time.
Arena in its entire vision of what level the henchmen needed to be. In Yak's Bend, they're level 8. They should be level 10. Same with Frostgate and Borless Pass. In whatever that next place is, Beacon's Perch, they really don't need to be any more than level 8, but they're level 10. And then in Gates of Kryta, they really need to be level 14, and they're level 10.
I wonder if they were thinking that players would team up and play together rather than take henchmen.
I think so, yeah. I think that's the point, is to get people to play together. So, yeah, you're not supposed to, play through the whole game with the henchmen, but I find the idea fun and novel. So now I'm angry about the henchman levels.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, hopefully that stopped all the people typing to me in the comments that the reason the henchmen are low level is to get people to play together. We talked about it. You don't have to leave that comment. Leave a happy comment instead. I'm begging you. No, all the comments have been very positive on the show so far. Feel free to lecture me about anything and everything. I want to learn about the game. So once we defeat, and there's a section in this swamp where you get faced with kind of a 2-prong attack. Did you experience this?
Yeah. Yes.
Did all the White Mantle go to one side, and then
Yes.
you had to defend the other side?
Yeah.
And, can any of the White Mantle die here? Is that acceptable?
I don't know that they actually do.
Yeah, I don't think I lost any.
I don't think I lost any, but
I panicked for a second.
They kind of went off. I did, yeah, I did as well because I was like, oh no. But I was at first a bit confused because I was like, where are they going? Why aren't they? We were just fighting all together, but all of a sudden I got to go out on my okay. And at one point, just this year, Hablion like just takes off. And so I'm like, well, I got to follow him. So I follow him, and he ends up by a essentially a drawbridge that's drawn up, and that's basically your way into Lion's Arch. And he's like, no, go and take care of the rest of the swamp, thanks, and I'll see you when you're done.
Yeah, he's like, I'll go around while you fight all the enemies, and I'm like,
and I was like,
okay.
But okay, yeah, okay. And I'm like, but you can just let us in, okay. So I ran all the way back, found his little posse that don't follow us or help us in any ways, and then I was trying to follow the wiki map to go through the rest of the swamp, because it's not that far. You don't have that much more to fight at that point. And I got caught because I took a wrong. I zigged when I should have zagged. And I took a turn, was trying not to let the henchmen die to poison water, was trying to flag them so that they wouldn't die to poison water. And then I ended up, I see a group of enemies on my mini-map, so I go to, I'm like, or maybe I can like just take them out. Well, no, because I'm actually on like the backside of a camp, and I can't actually, like I can hit them, and they can definitely hit me and my people. But I can't actually go through to get into their camp. I have to go a ways around. And I'm like, well, how the heck do I get back there? So by that time, I was just like, well, let me just follow the mountain. And then I triggered the cutscene to end the mission. Or to, have Leon let us in.
Yeah, so you got to that little section where there's like a narrow funnel into like a round enclosure with a boss in it.
Yeah, I had killed Nazim, that guy, and then there was like another little area with a camp of undead, and I was trying to get to them because I figured that these must be the dudes that I need to take out, but nope. No, I never really could find the way to them. But
so you don't really know what happened. The mission just ended.
Yeah, the mission just ended, and I was like, okay.
I guess I won.
Hablion. I guess I won.
Yeah.
After getting poisoned.
I made it to this little end area. It had a boss in it and several other mobs. I had to pull them out one by one and kill them, and then when I killed the boss, the cutscene triggered.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah. So this is kind of the cutscene that actually starts the plot of the real game. This is where we are introduced to the villain of the game. We're like 6 missions in and we're getting introduced to the villain.
New villain, yep.
Yep, and we're introduced to a plot-centric MacGuffin device, and we get some kind of plot, right? So what happens in the cutscene is, first of all, Hablion is like, congratulations, you killed the undead, you get to go to Lion's Arch.
Welcome to Lion's Arch, and we're like, yay.
And then the post-credits Marvel scene is actually where the plot happens.
Yes.
So there's these White Mantle, and they're robbing a tomb, and they're like, we found it. We finally found the Scepter of Ore.
The Scepter of Ore, yes.
Ore being this... There's a reason why they introduced Ore to us so heavily, this mission, because it's like very plot-centric. And apparently the undead are after it too. So the White Mantle have been kind of working against the undead to be the first person to get their hands on this Scepter of Ore. We don't really know what this thing does, but apparently it's important per this cutscene. As they're getting away with the Scepter of Ore, they get ambushed by ghouls. Ghouls are killing them, even though White Mantle Knights are level 15 and ghouls are level 11. It makes no sense. And so the White Mantle Knights are like, run away with the scepter while we sacrifice ourselves to these ghouls. And the White Mantle person who has the scepter is like, I will do that. And they get away. And then we are introduced to, and the White Mantle person says that they're going to a place called the Temple of Tolerance with the scepter. And then we are introduced to a being that is labeled in the dialogue subtitles as Undead Lich.
Yes.
He looks insane.
Yeah, he does.
He's so cool looking.
Yeah.
He looks like Satan himself.
Yeah. I was like, and it's funny because I kind of had forgotten about him, and I was like, "What's the Lich doing there?" And I was like, "Oh, this guy." And it all came back to me very quickly.
He is straight off of like a 1980s heavy metal album cover.
Pretty much, 100%.
He looks like a Doom enemy.
Yeah.
He's super cool looking. He's got like wings. He'll be on the screen here, but he's got like wings. His face is super evil. He's like 12 feet tall. His skin is like has like a gray pallor to it. He looks awesome. His robes are really like evil looking, like dark red. And he's basically like, everything proceeds according to my plans.
Yeah, he's like, I have all the time in the world. The scepter will be mine again soon enough.
Like, if he had a mustache to twirl, he would be twirling furiously.
Be doing that. Yes, but he does the typical villain cackle at the end.
He does a like he does like a Looney Tunes maniacal laugh.
Yeah,
like just a cartoon version of like the mwah.
Yes.
Yeah. So he is very clearly and truly the villain of the game. And he's after the Scepter of Ore. The White Mantle have it. Shit's gonna go down at the Temple of Tolerance.
Yeah, the White Mantle person who's taking it away gets told to take it to someone named Confessor Dorian.
Oh, do they mention Dorian's name in this cutscene?
Yeah.
Okay, so we get Confessor Dorian as a player as well in the picture. That's going to all happen at the DLSEO Seaboard mission that we are going to be playing next episode.
Yep.
You guys can kind of see what I mean when I mention that, like, the Prince Rurik Ascalon refugees plot is like the prologue to like the rest of the game, because this cutscene introduces an entirely new plot to us out of thin air, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, there's no preamble to this in any of the rest of the game, except for like a few vague allusions to the Flameseeker prophecies. But we don't even know how that connects to the rest of the story yet. Yeah. Right? So it really is like that intro credits roll 45 minutes into the movie type of deal. And that's going to be the story we're focusing on going forward for the rest of Prophecies. But we are not done with the Ascalonian refugees yet. There's a quest chain surrounding getting them settled into Kryta. And I think that's what we should focus on next episode, that and the Delesio Seaboard mission. Okay. And then maybe some other LA side quests. I don't think we're going to be able to do all the side quests in Kryta. Kryta's really big, and there's like more outposts than just Lion's Arch, and they all have quests in them too. So I think what we're going to do next episode is we're going to do the Ascalon Refugees quests. We're going to do Delesio Seaboard, and then we can also just do, like, pick some random quests and just go. And we'll see what we come up with. And then the episode after that, we will do the next mission and maybe do some of the quests that we skipped for episode 6. So episode 6 and 7 will mix up the side quests, and for episode 6 we'll focus on the Ascalon refugees. Because that is where we're going to be drawing this episode to a close. But before we do the show outro, we did want to mention that ArenaNet did a little update to Guild Wars 1 in February of 2024. They're still updating the game, guys.
Yes.
That's wild. It's not a major update. It's kind of a update to like commemorate the game being live for 6 uninterrupted years. So they've gone 6 years without the game ever going down once.
Which is pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So on February 15, they added some remastered music to the title screen. So now the Prophecies and Factions and Nightfall and Eye of the North themes play remastered and at a higher bit rate. Not like a super in-depth thing, but still cool that they're doing, like they have people doing little quality of life things like that for Guild Wars 1. And then they just mentioned in the post about the update, they kind of just mentioned all the upgrades they've done to the game recently after the launch of Guild Wars 2. They've enhanced the graphics with some draw distance stuff and some more details. They've done some like camera field of view improvements. They've expanded the friends list, right? Like this is all stuff that you'd expect to be upgrades to like a game that's like the flagship game, not the 20-year-old one that barely anybody plays anymore. And then they introduced that whole like 15th anniversary weapon set and quest chain. Like they did all this after the launch of Guild Wars 2, so it's just pretty cool that they're still doing little things for Guild Wars 1.
Absolutely.
But I think that's everything that we were going to cover for this episode.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks for the ride.
Yeah, that was a wild one. The Gates of Krita is definitely kind of a bizarre mission, I think.
It really is, yeah. I guess because we're meeting such bizarre characters, especially the Lich at the end, it sets us up in a sense kind of like we are a little maybe out of our depth as coming in as these Ascalonian refugees. We're just kind of getting thrown into this weird world and weird stuff happening in Krita.
Right, we went from Oink to Undead Lich in one mission. All right, that's where we're at in the Guild Wars story. So,
yep.
We will join you guys next time for more Krita. We'll run around Lion's Arch, see what that's like, and then we'll help some refugees and find out what's going on at the Temple of Tolerance. Miko, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Inky Sticks everywhere. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, even though there's scant content happening. Yeah.
All right, sweet. And you can find us at Tyria Now on Twitter and Twitch and YouTube. The Twitch is not currently active, but the Twitter and the YouTube are. And we're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, posting Tyria Then. You can also find all the old Tyria Now episodes on those platforms. Yes. So go check out all of that. Follow us on all those platforms so that, maybe you watch the show on YouTube, but someday you might be like, you know what, I'm going for a walk today and I want the audio only.
Or a long road trip.
Exactly, yes, as Miko experienced.
I did, and I found our banter still very highly entertaining and very funny.
Yeah, Miko does full sound checks for all of our episodes during her road trips. It's it's great. So follow us on all those locations and make sure to go follow Arctic's Booze Bus, our music guy and intro clip guy. He makes a lot of wild, crazy music that you can go listen to on his channel. So go check him out. And we are out of here for now, and we will see everybody in 2 weeks. We are posting on Mondays now instead of Sundays because I realized having an extra Sunday to work on the editing is highly advantageous. So we're now posting on Mondays, but same 2-week cadence. So shouldn't affect the release schedule too much. So in 2 weeks, let's see, it's we're recording this as of the 11th. So we're going to post this on the 18th. And then the next episode would be on April 1st.
Yes. So it won't be April Fools. We will actually release an episode.
No, we will. Yeah, I can't commit that hard to an April Fool's. It's too stressful. It will be like a genuine episode. So don't fret. We'll see everybody on April 1st for episode 6, where we discuss more Krita. Until then, we will see everybody later.
Bye.
Bye, guys.